Hi guys, Jay Smith here, welcome to the AskGolfNut channel and welcome to Mizuno Pro 245 up against the Mizuno JPX 925 Forged. I have done full reviews of both of these on my channel. If you want to look at the in-depth, when we look at the looks and the feel and the tech, you can do by just clicking up on their cards when we talk about individual ones, or if you want to go on the channel listing, you can find the videos on there. But today we're going to be looking at the objective differences between the two, not necessarily the subjective differences. These are Mizuno's, so effectively nothing feels like them. So we are looking at very much so they are the soft side of things. We are looking at the player's distance category, even though the JPX 925 Forge sits in that kind of weird game improvement. It wants to be a player's distance. It's lofted like a player's distance iron at 30 degrees, no different to that of the Pro 245. So it'll be really interesting to see how these bridging irons, and that's what I call these are bridging irons going from game improvement, moving into the player's category. These bridging irons, how well they compare. Up on the screen, you can see with the heat map data straight away. This is for the Pro 245. Remember, in the Pro 245, we have got tungsten, etc., moving the CG around the face. And if you haven't seen these before, these are the heat maps where I basically measure the ball speed drop off per millimeter when you don't hit the middle. And we are effectively looking at it face on. So on the top left-hand side there, you've got plus 22. That is the toe side. On the other side, minus 22, that is the heel. And of course, you've got plus up and down minus as well, high and low. And you've got that blue line. That blue line is turf interaction line. That's about 5 or 6 millimeters above where you should actually hit it. And because generally speaking, balls are on the ground rather than the tee, sometimes they are, but generally speaking, we hit most of the shots off of the ground. So if you hit anything 5 or 6 millimeters higher than you really should do, you are going to be interacting with the ground before, and of course, taking a large chunk out of the world before hitting the golf ball. You haven't got to worry about inefficiencies of faces at that point. But you can see on the Pro 245, the green blob actually is a little bit more graduated move towards the heel. Now, the only reason I can say on there is the fact, obviously, this is being a player's distance iron. It has to blend very much so along the player's shape and size. It does look like a fat 241, this 245, and so it does blend seamlessly in looks and feel to a certain extent. This is one of the softest player's distance irons around. Again, nothing feels like a Mizuno and all that lot, but effectively that's what it's designed to do. And so it does have this shape of the green blob. You can move all the way to around about 20 millimeters off the heel, and you're only losing around just into the 3%. That's incredibly good. At 19 millimeters, it's still 2%. Yes, if we move over to the toe, it is not built or designed necessarily for someone to hit it 20 or so millimeters out of the toe, because we are losing double that. We're losing 6% or so when you move towards the toe. But as long as you're not a prolific toe swiper, then the 245 could work absolutely well. If we go low on the face, now of course we go in around about sort of like the ½ inch low or so, we're going to be losing around about the 4% of ball speed, which is not bad considering, again, remember, this is a player's distance iron. Commonly people have it in their heads that the player's distance category are really forgiving. No, they are not. They are designed to be exactly what they are stated to be. Players distance. They're players that want more distance, not players who want more forgiveness. Let's move over to the JPX 925 Forge with that contour ellipse technology inside the head. And there you go. It's just massive. Now, you would argue, yes, it's not as forgiving off the heel than the Pro 245. So I would say this, if you are a prolific heel user, the Pro 245 is actually better than the JPX 925 Forge. However, if you hit it literally anywhere else, the 925 Forged is better than the Pro 245. It wins off low, it wins off toe by quite some considerable margin. The 925 Forge is one of the most surprising irons from 2025 and just how good it is. And it is because of that contour ellipse face. There is a two-piece construction, and Mizuno can get to the back of that and mill the contour ellipse shape. When it comes to the Hot Metal Pro, again, and the Hot Metal series, they've got the same contour ellipse, which makes them really very good. The Pro 245 hasn't got that. Of course, we are looking at tungsten, etc. But it will be really interesting to see what happens in 6 months or so when Mizuno bring out their new replacement to the 245 to see how well that one does. Let's go have a look at the radar chart. All this information that you're seeing here when it comes to the differences of the heat maps, the radar charts and the self-fit tool that you'll see in a second for the 70, 80 and 90 miles an hour is all from my website, www.askgolfnut.com, where we have 70 or so plus irons on the database currently, and of course that is growing all the time. And this is where you can see the differences between all the irons, and depending on what access to what kind of tier data that you want, you can have access to you can subscribe to different parts and different tiers. Now the information you can see on the screen right now, this is the radar chart. This is so we can actually visibly see the differences between the forgiveness, not just the heat map, but in a radar spider graph as such. And then you've also got the flight differences as well on here, but we'll look at the flight differences properly when we go to the graphical self-fit tool in a sec. You've got the Mizuno Pro 245 in blue and the JPX 925 in red. Instantly, if you look at the toe, you can see the big gains on the toe over that of the Pro 245. Again, the Pro 245 is much more suited towards a heel miss than it is the toe, whereas the JPX 925 forged with that contour ellipse is just built to work off every part, and it works extremely well compared to 245 off the toe. And then on low, it slightly loses out again to the JPX 925 forge. So overall, the JPX 925 forge is more forgiving than that of the Pro 245. The interesting thing is with the contour ellipse and how they have thinned out the face, we have a slightly faster face on the JPX 925 forge than the Pro 245. But distance potential, the JPX 925 forge has got a slight leg up over that of the Pro 245. The spin rate is slightly lower on the 925 forge, and of course launch factor is fractionally higher, but that is effectively center of gravity placement, higher launch, lower spin, that kind of idea. So this information is the gold tier. This is a self-fit tool, and again, if I had this tool when I was coaching and custom fitting, I would have saved so many calories wasting time trying to explain to golfers that they don't need a 4-iron anymore, or a 3-iron, or whatever it would be. And yes, it was great when lofts were a lot weaker 20 years ago and they were swinging a darn sight faster 20 years ago, but nowadays they don't need it. We are looking at functionality of flight, and this self-fit tool is an amazing tool, basically with the 70 plus irons that we have currently on the database, and obviously that is growing as time goes on. We are looking at the differences in functional flight between any iron that you can compare on the list. Now, of course, I have set a lot of this to blur for obvious reasons, and this is the gold tier stuff, but you're looking at the top there, I've set it to 70 miles an hour. Angle attack I was just sent to -2 degrees, just a number, and -2 on the shaft lean or D-loft. And again, this is for golfers to test out what the flight is going to be like potentially for any of the 70 or so plus irons. So if you're looking for new golf equipment and you need to see if one iron is going to work differently to another one, you can do on here, and you can select your own swing dynamics. So again, this is 70 miles an hour. We'll do the 80 and 90 miles an hour, and we'll keep everything else exactly the same. And if you are a new gold user and want help working out where you want to be when it comes to your angle attack and your shaft lean, you can just get hold of me via email or on Discord, which is probably even better, which there is a link to Discord in the description below. But you can see at 70 miles an hour, you have the JPX 925 forged in blue and the Pro 245 in yellow. You can see that there is, even at 70 miles an hour, there is a little bit of a win, a 4-yard win, and that's because of the extra oomph that you're going to get with the 925 forged over the Pro 245. It is only 4 yards, but it's 4 yards, and it's the same height, 22 yards and 22 yards, and 41.3 to 42.3. So there's 1 degree difference in descent angle, but it is over 40 degrees. So anything over 40, remember, these are middle hits. When you do deviate around the face, you are going to lose a little bit of ball speed, going back to the radar charts and going back to the heat maps. So if you are going to miss, you absolutely are going to need the help that the 925 forge gives you over the Pro 245. If you go to the 80 miles an hour, now carry is now getting out there, 153 to 149, so there's the other 4 yards again that the 925 forge is winning of that over the Pro 245. We're going at 30 yards in the air to 29 yards in the air, but again, that could be half a yard rounded. It is a very small amount. You can see by the trace, it's very, very small amounts. We're looking at descent angle 925 forge being 45.8 degrees, 46 degrees, and within 0.8 of a degree, it's exactly the same as a Pro 245. So within reason, that 4 yards that you see there is free distance. It's going the same peak height, within reason the same descent angle, it's just 4 yards further, so it is free distance. Full on 90 miles an hour, and the 925 forged 7-iron is 173 yards to 168, so it's now 5 yards. And of course, this is normal. The faster you swing, if there is a gain, generally speaking, at 70 miles an hour, there'll be a slightly bigger gain at 80 and a slightly bigger gain at 90. That is normal. Again, we're looking at 5 yards, so at 90 miles an hour, 5 yards is possibly round about, not even quite half a club, but it's free distance as such. So you're looking at 38 yards in the air, 38 yards in the air, very small amounts difference. And when it comes to descent angle, no difference, 50 degrees within 0.2, it is 3 yards. So those 5 yards that you're gaining from a JPX 925 over that of the Pro 245 is 3 yards. And the great thing with the self-fit tool now with the latest update is you can actually adjust the loft of the JPX 925 forge or whatever other one that you're going to be comparing it up against. See if by weakening it off, it would have an adverse effect or a benefit on certain things. And so that's another benefit with the update to the self-fit tool. As a conclusion then, between the JPX 925 forged and 245, the Pro 245, if you're going to go by looks and feel, I would personally say the Pro 245 will win. It looks basically like a fat blade, and I like the blade, so I like the fat blade, and it is much cleaner, less tech inspired and everything else like that. It is my winner when it comes to the look side of things, and feel very, very similar. The Pro 245 just fractionally pips the 925 forward, but it is very, very close. We are still talking about tech inspired heads, and it could move around depending on what you like. So again, that's the subjectivity part out of the way, what I like, because it could be quite completely different to what you like down the lens. Performance wise, the Pro 245, one iteration back from the brand new JPX 925 forge with that contour ellipse face. It's not saying it's starting to show its age, it's not that at all. It's just a case of you can see the distinct benefit of that contour ellipse that the JPX 925 forged has. It just produced a little bit more speed, it's just a little bit faster, a little bit further for the same peak height and descent angles. You just win and gain a little bit of free yardage, and it's absolutely, if you were moving from say like the Pro 241 and you wanted to move into the JPX 925 forge as a blend, from a functional blend, not necessarily a looks blend, but a functional blend, absolutely, it would be the pick for functionality alone. Again, in real life, the Pro 241 and 245 is a really very, very good blend. When it comes to forgiveness, the JPX 925, again, the forged it wins. With the exception of the heel on the 245 is very, very good. And so if you're a predominant heel misser, then the Pro 245 is still going to be the club for you. Anywhere else in the face though, the JPX 925 forged wins. Hope you liked the video. If you did, go and give it a big old thumbs up. Hit that like button. YouTube like, so do I. Down there is a subscribe button. It's free. It is the best button of lot because it does help the channel out a lot if you could subscribe. So thank you. And next to that one is a bell icon. That's a notification bell. If you click that one, that will let you know next time I upload another video. Hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.